Disclaimer: none of these theories are my own, nor do I endorse them. These theories are for the A Song of Ice and Fire books, not the show. Some of these theories take the show into consideration, and others do not. As George said, the books will be vastly different from the show, and there are tons of surprises in the books that they chose not to do in the HBO series. We're in for a lot of surprises as he finishes the series up. Last year I did Dark Theories, and people seemed to really enjoy it, and they requested for a part 2. So this year I wanted to do Dark Predictions, and none of these predictions are very new. They've all been circulating on the internet for some time now. As well, you might not consider all of these dark, depending on how you feel about certain storylines and characters. For some of these you might be like, oh no. And other ones, you may be like, yeah, fuck yeah, this needs to happen right now. As well, this video may offend some people. There's talk of rape and such, so if you're easily offended, please don't watch this video. As well, if you're one of those people that gets super butthurt when someone talks about theories or predictions that aren't as likely or likely won't come true, also don't watch this video, and you know exactly who you are. You're already sitting with your butt cheeks clenched and angry. Stop watching. This is for the people that aren't butthurt. So for everyone else, let's begin. Number 1. The first one is about Jon Snow. In the Winds of Winter, Jon Snow does come back to life after being stabbed to death by his men, but he doesn't come back like show Jon Snow did. In the books, he's more like Lady Stoneheart than Beric Dondarrion. Here's the fun little twist to that. We as readers go through the entire book not knowing that. What we do know is that in other point of view chapters that aren't in the North, there are rumors and whispers of something dark happening in the North. The undead, sacrifices, and maybe mass murder. But we assume that's the others and or Boltons. That would be normal for them, right? Finally, towards the end, we learn that Jon came back not quite right and now rules the Night's Watch with anger and vengeance, with the wildlings at his back. To add some depression to this prediction, some believe the Boltons become the good guys and try to stop Jon Snow's reign of terror. Others believe Sam will return to the Wall and delivers the horn to bring down the Wall to Jon. Jon kills Sam, blows the horn, and the undead come rushing through. Jon now serves the others. Kind of similar to this, I was messaged a really creepy prediction where Jon does come back, but we get no point of view chapters from him. Finally, at the end, we get a point of view from Ghost, with Jon trapped inside him, having warged into the direwolf before he died. The book ends with us wondering who the hell is now in Jon Snow's body and controlling it. But with Dark Jon theories, we have to remember that he's likely going to be rezzed a lot sooner than what Lady Stoneheart was, so he's not going to have that issue. As well, this is his first resurrection, so he's not going to have a lot of the memory loss or personality changes we saw in Beric. Number 2. No One. Arya is successful in becoming no one, and after learning all she can from the Faceless Men and in the House of Black and White, she returns to Westeros to off some people. Arya kills a few on the list, but then comes across Nymeria and her wolf pack. She has been so successful in becoming no one and erasing her past that Nymeria doesn't recognize her as Arya, her friend. Instead, Nymeria and her pack feast on Arya. Another similar becoming no one prediction is that Arya goes to the Wall after hearing that the Night's Watch's Lord Commander came back from the dead. The many-faced god cannot have that. He must have his due. So Arya goes to the Wall and she realizes that the person she needs to kill is Jon, and she hesitates, and Jon instead kills her, either because he's a little foggy on his past, or maybe it's an accident. And then after killing her, when he's asked who was that, he remarks, no one. Number 3. Bran rapes Meera in Hodor's body. I've heard this one on my own channel a few times, and I find it very fascinating how dark people can go. Also, I've learned that people have a lot of predictions and theories centered on rape. The theory plays on the 3 abominations of skin changing. 1. Eating a man's flesh. 2. Having sex while skin changing. And 3. Taking over a human. Bran has already done 2 of the 3 abominations. He's definitely eaten human flesh, and he has taken over a human numerous times. Some believe it is only a matter of time before he's 3 for 3. This theory goes that Bran is attracted to Meera, and she's basically the last woman on Earth scenario. Bran learns complete control over Hodor, who basically allows him to do all the things he wishes he could, and he uses him to take his maiden. There's another theory that Bran basically mind rapes her when Meera wants to leave the cave and just go, and Bran says no, and so he tries to take over her body, and he doesn't realize how horrific it is for people with full control of their mind and aren't damaged like Hodor is, and so she just loses her mind and she ends up committing suicide. Number 4. Shaggy Dog. A Shaggy Dog story is an extremely long-winded story characterized by extensive narration of typically irrelevant incidences and terminated by an anticlimactic or pointless punchline. There are some that fear this is exactly what Rickon is. George loves to place little hints and nods in his stories. There are numerous examples. What if George having Rickon name his dog Shaggy Dog is a hint to his fate to come? Lord Manderley has so many plans in place for the North Remembers, and finally he gets his man, Davos, to go to where Rickon is, and Skagos to retrieve him. Having the heir to House Stark, or the only one whose location they know of right now, is a big in for Lord Manderley putting the Starks back in Winterfell. He has gone to great lengths to make this happen. But what if Davos gets to Skagos and he simply finds Rickon was dead? There's no Stark heir to bring home. Rickon's story just ends. Rickon dying how he did in the show has a lot of people even more fearful that Rickon isn't making a comeback and he does not have a happy ending. Number 5. Berenstain dying so suddenly in the show has added some weight to theories that Berenstain isn't making it out of the Battle of Fire. We know in the Winds of Winter Berenstain is leading a force to attack after giving an awesome pep talk. Some have predicted Berenstain won't make it out of this battle alive, but not because they are slain in battle. Some believe that when Berenstain and his men go back to the city of Meereen to retreat for a little bit, they find that the gate is closed and locked, and then Berenstain and his men are slaughtered outside the city by the enemies. Number 6. Jon Connington, who currently has Greyscale, is seduced by Arianne Martell, who is using him to get to Aegon. By sleeping with Jon, she gets Greyscale from him. She then sleeps with Aegon and spreads the disease to him. Aegon now has Greyscale and he will never be accepted as a king of the Seven Kingdoms, and if he is, he's going to have a very slow, painful death, and it's not likely anyone's really gonna want to have kids with him, so then there's that. Problem with this theory is, well, Jon Con is gay, but maybe he's bisexual, who knows. Number 7. Cersei, in her growing madness, takes Tommen for a lover to keep him close. This one is just, ugh. But Cersei isn't doing too well mentally in the books anyhow. There are some that think Cersei, in order to keep Tommen close and safe, is gonna start having sex with him, and Tommen's just gonna go along with this. Number 8. More sexual abuse. I'm so sorry. So we know Shireen is burned alive at one point, likely in the Winds of Winter. But because people love to be dark and twisted, there's a semi-popular prediction that after Jon dies, there will be a mass uprising at the Wall, and in the chaos, Shireen will be raped. Her rapists get her Greyscale, and an outbreak of the disease occurs at the Wall. Melisandre is forced to burn Shireen and any affected. See, isn't a little girl being raped by tons of men and then burned to death in order to stop the spread of a disease much better than a little girl being burned in order to melt a little snow or res someone? Number 9. Tyrion loses his tongue. I came across this prediction a long time ago, and it's another not so happy one. A lot of characters have mentioned Tyrion's sharp tongue. He does have quite a mouth on him. George has mentioned that he wants to show there are consequences for your words and actions. Especially in the case of Tyrion. He runs his mouth, it gets him in tight spots. We've seen quite a bit of tongue removal in the books when a character speaks an unwelcome truth or speaks a bit too much for someone's taste. Tyrion losing his tongue would mirror Jaime losing his hand. Jaime was an extremely skilled knight, and without his dominant hand, he's not very useful for the one thing he dedicated his life to. Tyrion's gift is his mind. Without his tongue to guide or educate, he is stuck feeling useless or isolated for the rest of his life. Maybe that's part of George's bittersweet ending. Tyrion loses his tongue, his ability to use that quick, sharp mouth of his. And if you really want to be shallow, though I don't consider this comparable to a hand or tongue being cut off, Cersei did lose her hair, which is a source of her pride, and added to her beauty, something very important to her. But hair grows back. Hands and tongues don't. Though this prediction does deal a great punch to House Lannister, Tywin died by his own dwarf son's hands, which is humiliating and stains his legacy. His warrior son can't be a warrior anymore. His beautiful daughter is disgraced, humiliated, and looked down on. His son loses the one thing he's known for, his sharp, clever tongue. That one thing Tywin worked so hard to build up, Lannister pride and respect, is now lost not only in him, but all his children. Now, who would cut off Tyrion's tongue? Maybe a Greyjoy. Victarion or Euron are both crazy wild cards. Aegon if Tyrion discovers he's in fact a Blackfyre, or maybe Varys or Cersei. Tyrion has a lot of potential enemies. And number 10. At this point, this is almost canon. There's a lot of comparison of Wildfire to Cersei in the books. A lot. Following Cersei's walk of shame and just being humiliated and seeing power slip more and more from her grasp, and not wanting to take a chance on a trial proving her innocence, she will finally snap and use Wildfire to burn King's Landing. Maybe she just does the Sept in retaliation, or maybe she burns more. Tommen is killed in the fire or kills himself due to being a very small child and not being able to cope. Cersei becomes the Mad Queen and just starts burning the city around her. An alternative take is that Tommen dies and that's what pushes her over the edge and she starts burning parts of the city. We know the way the HBO show showed it, but I'm still curious to see if her Mad Queen ascension happens a bit differently in the books. So those are 10 dark predictions for the future A Song of Ice and Fire books. What are some of your dark predictions? Make sure you like this video, subscribe, and come back for more Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire videos. Besides that, comic videos, Star Wars videos, anything sci-fi, fantasy, or horror related.